I would like to share some information from Billy Meier as of December 12th, 2020, pertaining to lockdowns and masks. All orders, decrees, ordinances, and other measures, as well as all lockdowns, which are now again being ordered by the state leaders for the coming weeks and possibly until further notice, or for the first month of the new decade, are inadequate in every respect, and therefore very defective. Consequently, as a whole, everything is only partially effective and does not end the continuing effect of the pandemic problems, but rather allows them to persist and will increase even more in the coming weeks. In relation to a prolonged lockdown, not only 1 or 2 weeks is to be considered and ordered, but 2, 3, or even more months, and that under elaboration, planning, and consideration of all deeply private, personal, economic, and all and any intervening necessities in every relation. The government's imposition of short-term lockdowns, which were immediately relaxed or completely lifted and suspended as soon as the infection rates and the number of deaths decreased somewhat, shows an absolute lack of leadership, incompetence, lack of foresight, poor intellect, and irresponsibility on the part of the government leaders concerned. It is of urgent importance and necessity to note that appropriate respiratory masks should be worn in all cases for each person in direct contact with other persons who are not part of the immediate personal sphere of life. The most common routes of infection and transmission of disease are smear and droplet infections and aerosols that float through the air and are inhaled at close range. So wearing respirators is of urgent necessity, as is keeping a distance of about 2 meters from other persons. When speaking indoors for professional or business purposes, such as going to the bank or the post office, or even the grocery store at the cashier, protective masks should be worn, and protective screens between persons should allow for person-to-person separation. Of course, you want to wear the mask throughout the store, but yes, the screens are very important. Visits to non-family dwellings or to other households, also to one's own relatives or to family members living elsewhere in other households, should be avoided at all costs, as should visits by family members living elsewhere in one's own personal living quarters. Visits to family members for the purpose of their unavoidable care and maintenance should only be made with all necessary safety precautions, such as wearing suitable respirators, maintaining appropriate distance as far as possible, and if body contact is necessary, observing all safety measures such as all necessary disinfection. So for that, a good natural soap for washing your hands. You don't want to use the hand sanitizer that has some toxic effects. Better to use the 70% alcohol. That is the best, actually. Short-term visits of a few minutes may be made to family members living elsewhere in other houses for deliveries, material transactions, as well as for purely maintaining contact, but only subject to the wearing of respiratory masks and the maintenance of the appropriate safety distance. Normal industrially produced protective masks of the FFP1 type cannot, and this is contrary to all false claims by manufacturers, salesmen, know-it-alls, troublemakers, and conspiracy theorists, etc. These masks cannot prevent viruses from entering the mucous membranes and respiratory organs in any way, just as homemade fabric masks or transparent face shields, short speech shields in front of the mouth and nose, and similar products are also unsuitable as protection against the viruses. And of course, that's pretty obvious because the shields do not stop viruses from coming in on the sides or underneath, so they're useless. Wearing respiratory masks can only be effective if suitable types of masks are used. Homemade as well as purchased pure fabric masks are absolutely useless as well as highly hazardous to health. Reason being, if you're wearing these things, you think that you're safe, but you are actually being lulled into a sense of false security because they do nothing. They do not stop the virus from penetrating. Tested FFP1 masks are only lightly protective and should not be used as effective protective masks, but at most only as a short stopgap measure. The FFP2 and FFP3, so these are the European standard categories for determining types of masks. The FFP2 is the equivalent of the North American N95, or the FFP3 is the N100. These masks are indeed suitable for contact with other persons. And of course, the FFP3 is the best. That's it. Thank you.